100 years ago, a single farm family fed itself, its animals, and its neighbors, without a tractor, without a chemical input, and without a supply chain. Today, almost no one does. These 10 skills were once so common they went unspoken. Families who mastered them survived bad harvests and hard winters. Today, fewer people hold this knowledge than at any point in American history. 100 years ago, roughly 30% of the American workforce still worked the land. What they carried wasn't just physical endurance. It was a complete interlocking system of knowledge, each skill dependent on the next. These are 10 of those skills. Most Americans today could name none of them, and yet, skill number 5 is quietly making a comeback, and once you see why, you won't be surprised. Number 1. Horse-powered field work. Before the tractor dominated American fields, the draft horse was the engine of agriculture. By 1900, most farmers used draft horses for hard labor. 1,800-pound animals that plowed fields for corn and oats, planted crops, cultivated fields, hauled hay, and pulled wagons of grain. But driving a team wasn't simply a matter of holding reins. Draft horses required skilled teamsters who understood harnessing, pacing, and rest schedules to prevent strain. A furrow that wandered meant uneven planting. Uneven planting meant uneven yield. The entire harvest began with the straightness of that first line. The horse and mule population in the United States reached an all-time high of 26.4 million animals in 1918. Within 3 decades, it had nearly vanished. Number 2. Reading and preparing soil. Before a seed entered the ground, a farmer had to read the field. Soil compaction, moisture depth, drainage patterns after rain. These weren't measured with instruments. They were assessed by hand, by eye, and by accumulated experience. After ploughing, the field was harrowed, the clods broken, the surface leveled. Horses pulled harrows and seed drills, breaking heavy soil and preparing acres of land for planting. Timing was critical. Plant too early into cold, wet soil and seeds rot. Plant too late and the growing window closes. Number 3. Crop rotation, mixed farming. The practice of crop cultivation with the incorporation of livestock helped manage crops in a rotation and cycle nutrients. Crop residues provided animal feed, while the animals provided manure for replenishing crop nutrients and draft power. A farmer who planted corn on the same ground year after year was borrowing against the future. The traditional system, rotating grain crops with legumes and allowing periods of rest or grazing, maintained soil fertility without any external input. The knowledge of which crop followed which and why was foundational. Organic farmers who cannot use chemical treatments rely entirely upon methods like crop rotation to maintain soil health and profitable crop yields. Number 4. Natural fertilization. Animal manure was not waste, it was currency. Agricultural producers in the early and mid-1900s utilized green manure crops to provide nitrogen fixation and weed suppression, providing greater plant diversity. Most operations were diversified to include an animal component to provide meat, milk, and eggs. The farmer's skill lay in timing and application, knowing which fields needed enrichment, how much manure to spread, and when to plow it under. Applied incorrectly, it could burn crops. Applied correctly, it closed the nutrient loop that held the whole system together. Number 5. Food preservation. A harvest without preservation was a harvest half wasted. In 1900, garden produce was preserved using hot water bath canning. Corn, vegetables and fruit stored in crocks or glass jars for use through the winter. The mason jar, introduced in 1858, made this systematic, but the skill required more than a jar and heat. A seal that failed meant spoilage, or worse, botulism. Farmers' wives and daughters learned to assess each jar by sound and pressure, to manage acidity, and to maintain exact timing. One miscalculation in a pantry of 200 jars was not a small error. Number 6. Butchering and meat preservation. Hogs were an important farm product in the 19th century, raised for meat and lard to feed the farmer, but could also be sold at market for cash. Butchering was a communal skill, carried out in late autumn when temperatures dropped enough to prevent spoilage. Nothing was discarded. Fat rendered into lard for cooking and preservation. Organs used immediately. cuts salted, smoked or packed in lard and stored in cool cellars. The timing, slaughter too early and the meat spoils, too late and the cold is unreliable, required judgment no calendar alone could provide. Number 7. Well, maintenance and water management. Irrigation on small farms rarely meant large infrastructure. It meant knowing where water was, how to reach it, and how to move it. Farmers dug wells by hand, maintained windmills to pump groundwater, and managed gravity-fed ditches to direct water across fields during dry periods. A windmill with a worn leather valve seal would fail silently until the livestock troughs ran dry. Maintenance was preventive, not reactive. The farmer who waited for failure was already behind. Number 8. Tool repair and basic blacksmithing. A broken plough blade in planting season was not an inconvenience, it was a crisis. In the 19th century, farmers and entrepreneurial inventors made a multitude of improvements on basic ploughs, harrows, cultivators, and manure spreaders. But access to manufactured replacements was slow and expensive. Basic forge work, heating iron to reshape it, setting a new handle, retempering an edge, was a necessary skill on most working farms. Not artisanal blacksmithing, functional repair. The difference between a farmer who could fix what broke and one who could not was measured in weeks of lost productivity each season. Number 9. Seed saving. Before commercial seed suppliers, every planting depended on the previous harvest. Farmers selected the strongest, most disease-resistant plants from each crop and saved their seed through winter, dry, cool, and sealed against moisture and vermin. This was not passive collection. It was active selection over years and generations, slowly adapting varieties to a specific soil and microclimate. A farm's seed stock was, in a real sense, its most irreplaceable asset. Number 10. Seasonal planning and labor coordination, perhaps the most invisible skill of all. The pre-industrial farm ran on a mental calendar of extraordinary complexity: when to plant each crop relative to the last frost, when to harvest before rain, when to breed livestock so that births aligned with spring grass, when to lay in stores before winter. Miscalculate one node in that sequence, and the error compounded across the season. A farm family that planted 2 weeks late might harvest 2 weeks late, missing the dry window, losing grain to mold, entering winter with insufficient stores. The system had no margin for poor timing. Now think about it. Which skill did you know? Which skill has your family passed down through time? Write it in the comments. These systems shape the world quietly. If you want to see more of them documented, consider subscribing, and tell us, which forgotten skill or trade should we uncover next?